Say she wasn't his wife at all, merely a mistress.
Are you ready for the shocking truth about perfect Victorian families? Behind the facade of strict piety lay tangled secrets, betrayals, and catastrophic debts known only to the servants. Maids, footmen, and butlers became unwitting witnesses to events that could instantly destroy the reputation of the most distinguished lords.
If that's true, we could all be dismissed.
Their silence was often bought for huge sums of money, but sometimes the burden of other people's secrets became too heavy. Watch the video to the end, and you will learn how a careless word from an ordinary servant could forever deprive an aristocrat of his title, fortune, and position in society.
I nearly dropped the bobbin.
What if I told you that everything you believed was a lie? The Victorian era has always been associated with strict rules of etiquette and impeccable behavior of aristocrats in society. However, the real life of London's nobility took place far from prying eyes, behind the thick walls of family mansions. The only people who saw the true face of the British elite were their own servants. These invisible witnesses knew absolutely everything about the habits, weaknesses, and vices of their influential employers.
Silent on the matter.
The servants performed their duties completely unnoticed by those around them, like shadows gliding through the spacious halls. They lit the fireplaces before their masters woke up, cleaned their clothes, and served breakfast in absolute silence. This enforced invisibility made them ideal listeners to the most intimate conversations and secret talks. Aristocrats often forgot about the presence of a valet in the room and discussed financial machinations right at the dinner table. Thus, the service staff gained access to information of enormous importance without even making any effort. The architecture of old estates only contributed to the constant control over the lives of noble persons. In every wealthy house, there was a parallel network of narrow corridors and secret staircases. These passages ran through the entire building, allowing workers to instantly get to where they needed to be. Thanks to these architectural solutions, maids could move silently between rooms, remaining out of sight of guests. This layout turned the servants into all-seeing observers, whose attention did not miss a single detail. The duties of personal maids included constant access to the most private chambers of ladies and gentlemen, cleaning bedrooms, washing personal items, and preparing evening attire allowed them to discover a wealth of compromising evidence. Hidden notes, unpaid bills, or business cards forgotten in pockets became part of a huge mosaic of secrets. Employees knew how to read between the lines, noticing the slightest changes in their master's behavior. Any unusual situation could indicate impending bankruptcy or a secret romance. The butler possessed the most extensive amount of information among all the estate's service staff. He received mail, greeted visitors, and personally monitored the stocks of expensive alcohol in the cellars. No guest could cross the threshold of the house without the knowledge of this high-ranking employee. The butler knew who visited in the absence of the owner and which letters arrived without a return address. His insight allowed him to foresee impending scandals long before high society learned of them. Footmen accompanied their masters on trips around the city and during social visits. They waited in carriages, observed their surroundings, and recorded all routes of travel. Noble gentlemen often used footmen to deliver confidential messages or convey secret messages. Performing such delicate tasks automatically made the employee an accomplice to dubious intrigues. This gave the servants a huge psychological advantage over their influential employers. All the information gathered eventually flowed into the lower rooms of the house, where the servants dined. There, far from the stern gaze of the aristocrats, the latest observations were exchanged. Cooks shared news with maids, and footmen discussed the strange behavior of their master with the butler. From scattered facts and random snippets of conversation, a complete picture of the life of a noble family emerged. These informal gatherings transformed disparate workers into a unified and highly informed collective. Knowing other people's secrets changed the servants' attitude toward their high-ranking employers. Behind the facade of outward respect, there was often condescension or even hidden contempt. The workers understood that the outward grandeur of the British elite was often built on lies and hypocrisy. This awareness gave them a sense of inner superiority over those they were obliged to serve. Secrets made the social gap between rich and poor less insurmountable. The aristocrats themselves were well aware of the vulnerability of their position in the face of their own servants. They tried to hire only trusted people with impeccable references from previous employers. Estate owners paid higher salaries to workers who had access to personal belongings. However, no amount of money could guarantee absolute loyalty and eternal silence. The threat of exposure constantly hung over the representatives of high society like a heavy burden. The influence of the service staff on the lives of the London nobility is truly difficult to overestimate. They held in their hands the keys to the reputation of the most powerful people in the great empire. One careless word could destroy destinies and deprive an influential family of all its accumulated wealth. We are very interested in hearing your point of view, so please write in the comments what you think about the power of these invisible witnesses. Also, be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new deep dives into the mysteries of the past. Are you ready to learn the truth about how financial collapses were hidden in the wealthiest homes? Behind the outward glamour of lavish balls often lay the frightening emptiness of bank accounts. Noble lords spent huge sums on maintaining their status, luxurious attire, and expensive carriages. Over time, these expenses led to huge debts, which were carefully concealed from high society. Servants were the first to learn of impending bankruptcy, noticing the slightest changes in their usual way of life. The first sign of financial problems was always visits from persistent creditors. Debt collectors would arrive at the front door, demanding an immediate meeting with the owner of the estate. The butler had to use all his diplomatic skills to keep unwanted guests out of the house. He came up with plausible excuses, citing the owner's absence or his busy schedule. These humiliating scenes on the doorstep of a luxurious mansion made it clear to the staff that things were bad. The maids noticed the financial crisis when valuable items disappeared from the living rooms. Expensive vases, silver candlesticks, and paintings by famous artists gradually disappeared from their usual places. The owners explained this away as restoration or a desire to update the boring interior of their rooms. However, the servants understood perfectly well that these items were being sent to pawn shops forever. Cleaning the emptying rooms became a silent reminder of the imminent fall of the noble family. The ladies' personal maids were the first to learn about the sale of the family jewels. Real diamonds and emeralds were secretly replaced with skillful copies made of cheap glass. While preparing for evening receptions, the maid held these fakes in her hands, realizing the full extent of her employer's downfall. Knowing this fact made the maid an accomplice to a grand deception of the entire London society. The lady had to be especially kind to such a worker in order to buy her silence. Cutting costs inevitably affected the quality of the products delivered to the kitchen. The cook noticed how expensive teas were being replaced with cheaper alternatives. Instead of exotic fruits, the most common seasonal vegetables were increasingly being served at the table. Suppliers began to demand cash payments, refusing to provide goods on credit. All these culinary changes spoke eloquently of the emptying coffers of the aristocratic family. The savings also affected the employees themselves, as salary payments began to be regularly delayed. The owners cited temporary difficulties, promising to generously reward the staff in the very near future. Some loyal servants agreed to wait, sincerely sympathizing with the plight of their employers. Others began to look for new jobs, taking with them all the secrets they knew. The departure of old employees was always accompanied by the risk of unwanted rumors spreading throughout the city.
Thank you for everything.
In an attempt to save the situation, the gentlemen often resorted to dubious investments. They discussed risky financial schemes with mysterious visitors in their closed offices. The footman serving drinks at that moment heard snippets of conversations about fake stocks. Knowledge of their master's fraudulent plans presented the servant with a difficult moral choice. Such information was extremely valuable on the capital's gossip market. A special category of secrets were card debts, which destroyed the most ancient families. Valets cleaned their master's frock coats after long nights in gambling clubs. they found promissory notes in their pockets for amounts exceeding the value of the entire estate. The mood of the master in the morning unerringly indicated his successes or failures at the card table. This destructive habit was the fastest way to complete social ruin. When disaster became inevitable, homeowners began to secretly remove their valuables. At night, servants helped load the remnants of luxury into inconspicuous carriages. It was a time of extreme tension, when the slightest noise could attract the attention of creditors. At such moments, the usual boundaries between master and servant were blurred. They became accomplices, united by a single goal: to preserve the remnants of former grandeur. This hidden struggle for survival placed a heavy burden on the shoulders of ordinary workers. Do you think it was fair to place the responsibility for keeping such large-scale secrets on an ordinary footman? Concealing financial failures was only a small part of the vast web of lies that aristocrats wrapped themselves in. There were secrets of a much more personal nature that could cause a real scandal. In the next chapter, you will learn what evidence most often gave away unfaithful spouses.
Meet me in the conservatory.
This is what happens behind the closed doors of luxurious mansions. The strict moral rules of Victorian society dictated impeccable behavior in marriage. However, turbulent passions and forbidden romantic affairs were often hidden behind a facade of piety. Aristocrats resorted to incredible tricks to hide their love affairs from their lawful spouses. It was the servants who became the main keepers of these most dangerous and destructive secrets. The maid cleaning the lady's bedroom always knew more than she was supposed to. She found crumpled notes with passionate confessions carelessly thrown into the fireplace. The characteristic scent of someone else's perfume on clothing could tell an experienced worker a lot. Forgotten men's gloves or watches in the boudoir became irrefutable evidence of secret meetings. The maid had to discreetly remove all these traces before the master of the house arrived. Gentlemen also needed the help of their valets to hide evidence. Employees carefully cleaned frock coats of powder and long hairs belonging to other men's wives. They collected letters from secret mailboxes in remote areas of the city. The valet often acted as a courier, delivering expensive gifts to his master's mistresses. Such assignments were paid very generously, turning the servant into a loyal ally. The butler played a key role in organizing secret visits during the absence of the legal spouses. He instructed the rest of the staff not to disturb the lady at certain hours. The arrival of a mysterious guest was always arranged with the utmost caution and strict secrecy. Footmen were forbidden to enter the living room without first knocking loudly. This whole system worked like clockwork, protecting the peace of unfaithful aristocrats. Sometimes forbidden romances developed between representatives of different social classes. The love of a noble lord for a simple governess was the most terrible scandal for the family. Such relationships were carefully hidden even from other estate workers to avoid gossip. However, it was almost impossible to hide sincere feelings from the attentive eyes of the maids. Any unusual glance or accidental touch instantly became the subject of discussion in the kitchen. Knowing about the infidelity of one of the spouses put the servants in an extremely ambiguous position. They had to show respect to both masters, knowing about their mutual deception. Sometimes the servants used this knowledge to get extra days off or a raise in salary. Direct blackmail was rarely used, but the hidden threat of exposure was constantly in the air. Lords and ladies tried not to quarrel with employees who were privy to their most intimate secrets. When secrets were revealed, the servants were the first to suffer the wrath of the betrayed spouses. An angry lord could dismiss the entire staff, suspecting them of aiding his unfaithful wife. Employees lost not only their jobs, but also their references, which meant the end of their careers. Therefore, keeping other people's secrets was a matter of their own survival in a harsh world. Silence was the most valuable service they could offer their influential employers. Such a complex web of intrigue required extraordinary self-control and cunning from the service staff. Every day they balanced on a fine line between duty, morality, and their own safety. Their silent complicity allowed Victorian society to maintain the illusion of perfect morality. Like this video if you are also surprised by such a complex system of concealing information. In the next parts, we will reveal even more surprising details about life in those days.
Taken care of it. They suspect nothing.
Guess what happened next in a world of strict rules and secret passions? Possession of destructive secrets inevitably led to a shift in the balance of power within wealthy households. Servants in possession of dangerous information gained invisible leverage over their high-ranking employers. An ordinary maid suddenly gained power over the reputation of an ancient aristocratic family. Aristocrats were forced to make huge concessions to guarantee the complete confidentiality of their misdeeds. The most common way to buy silence was a sudden promotion. A footman who accidentally learned about his master's financial machinations could quickly become the manager of a small estate. Such appointments caused bewilderment among the rest of the staff, who did not understand the reasons for such generosity. However, the lucky person knew perfectly well what exactly he had done to deserve his new position. It was a hidden form of bribery that allowed secrets to be kept without the direct transfer of money. Gifts in the form of expensive clothing or jewelry helped smooth over the awkwardness after accidental revelations. A lady might give her personal maid a luxurious dress in exchange for a forgotten love letter. These items could not be worn at work, but they could always be sold at a profit to secondhand dealers. Such gifts were accompanied by meaningful glances, eliminating the need for lengthy explanations of the situation. The unspoken agreement was sealed without a single word, leaving both parties satisfied with the deal. A special privilege for initiated servants was the forgiveness of their own serious mistakes. The butler could turn a blind eye to the theft of small items if the culprit knew too much. Drunkenness or damage to expensive property went unpunished for those employees whom it was dangerous to dismiss. The owners endured the inconvenience, fearing to provoke the offended servant into making public revelations. Fear of public scandal made aristocrats hostages to their own staff. Sometimes the purchase of silence took the form of caring for the elderly relatives of a loyal employee. Employers could pay for the treatment of a maid's sick mother or the education of her younger brother. Such charity guaranteed deep personal affection and absolute loyalty for many years. A person who had been helped in a difficult situation was unlikely to betray his benefactors. It was the most reliable and noble way to keep one's secrets safe. The smartest servants never crossed the line into open extortion or threats. They understood that a peaceful and secure life was far more important than momentary and dangerous gains. Their loyalty was bought with regular displays of care and generous payments on holidays. Such a system of mutually beneficial cooperation could exist for decades without the slightest disruption. Estate owners slept peacefully, knowing that their reputation was in safe hands. Relations between employers and their staff became surprisingly complex and confusing. Ordinary human weaknesses turned into a powerful tool of influence and manipulation. Did servants have any other options in such ambiguous situations? In the next chapter, you will learn how estate owners tried to control their staff with strict contracts. This system of legal tricks was designed to protect the aristocracy from dangerous information leaks forever.
They mustn't find out I have this.
The Victorian elite could not rely solely on the loyalty or greed of their employees. To protect family secrets, a whole system of strict rules and contracts was created. When hiring, each candidate underwent a thorough check of their past and references. Any dark spot in their biography would permanently close the doors to prestigious London mansions. Estate owners sought to surround themselves with people of impeccable reputation and submissive disposition. Written employment contracts often contained clauses requiring strict confidentiality in all matters. Servants were forbidden to discuss any of their employer's affairs, even among themselves in the lower rooms of the house. Violation of this rule resulted in immediate dismissal without payment of the salary due. Some contracts expressly prohibited staff from communicating with reporters or writers of scandalous chronicles. The aristocrats' legal literacy helped them protect their private lives from outside interference. An important tool of control was the system of letters of recommendation, on which the career of a servant depended. Without a good reference from a previous employer, it was impossible to find a new respectable position. This fact kept all the service staff in constant fear of the slightest dissatisfaction on the part of their employer. A compromised lord could easily write a bad recommendation to a talkative employee out of pure revenge. The fear of losing one's livelihood was the best guarantee of long and reliable silence. The butler acted as the chief overseer of the behavior of all other staff on the estate. He nipped any gossip in the bud, severely punishing those who liked to discuss other people's secrets. His duties included monitoring the mood among the footmen, maids, and kitchen staff. At the slightest sign of disloyalty, the dangerous employee was immediately removed from the wealthy household. Such strict internal policing ruled out the possibility of mass conspiracy or organized blackmail. To minimize risks, some families practiced strict specialization among their employees. Maids were forbidden to enter the library or the master's study without a special invitation. Footmen were not allowed to go up to the floor where the bedrooms of the noble family were located. This division of access areas prevented any one person from gathering a complete picture of what was going on. Knowing only fragments of information made it less dangerous to the reputation of high-ranking employers. Regular searches of the servants' rooms were another unpleasant reality of the time. The housekeeper could check the maid's personal chests at any time in search of stolen items. Despite all the strictness, the control system regularly failed in the most unexpected places. The human factor always remained the weak link in this carefully constructed defensive chain. An offended or desperate servant could find a way to circumvent any restrictions. The passion for gossip often overcame the fear of severe punishment or loss of employment. Even in the most strict households, there was no such thing as a perfect system of protection from prying eyes and ears.
She might be in trouble.
The secret that people pay thousands for is often hidden in the most mundane documents. The process of parting ways with an employee who possessed dangerous information required the highest diplomatic skills. Simply throwing such a person out onto the street meant provoking a loud social scandal. Aristocrats had to invent elegant ways to remove unwanted witnesses from their circle. Dismissal turned into a delicate game in which both sides tried to save face and preserve their interests. The most elegant solution to the problem was to transfer the servant to the family's distant country estate. Formally, the person remained in service, but physically was hundreds of miles away from the capital. In the remote countryside, his knowledge of London intrigues posed no threat. The employee received a quiet position with his previous salary and all privileges intact. Such a soft exile suited everyone, preventing possible conflicts and unpleasant public exposés. Another elegant method was to arrange for a loyal servant to work for friends or relatives. A lord could recommend his valet to serve an elderly and very quiet uncle. This was presented as the greatest kindness and concern for the future career of a loyal assistant. In reality, this was a way of removing a dangerous witness to recent turbulent events in the mansion. The employee understood the hint and gladly accepted a new, safer place of work. Sometimes the owners initiated artificial conflicts in order to find a legitimate reason for parting ways. The butler might suddenly start nitpicking about the quality of the cleaning or the appearance of the footman. An unbearable working atmosphere was created, forcing the servant to voluntarily submit a letter of resignation. At the same time, he was given excellent references and paid a generous severance package. Formally, the dismissal took place at the initiative of the employee, which removed all suspicion from the employer. Older servants who knew too many secrets from the past were offered early and generous retirement. They were bought small houses in remote villages and given a lifetime allowance. It was like an honorable retirement for long and impeccable service to the family. However, the main condition for such payments was always absolute silence about the affairs of former employers. At the slightest violation of the unspoken agreement, pension payments were immediately terminated forever. In the case of young maids, the problem was often solved by a successful marriage. The masters could help the girl find a worthy husband among the local craftsmen or shopkeepers. A decent sum of money was given as a dowry, sufficient to start a new family life. The happy bride left the service sphere forever, concentrating on her own household. Past secrets were quickly forgotten in the whirlwind of daily cares for her own home. The master politely reminded her of the importance of preserving the good name of both parties in the future. The employee bowed, confirming her full understanding of the rules of this delicate social game. The document served as a kind of peace treaty between the all-powerful aristocrat and his former subordinate. These procedures demonstrated the fragility of the social position of the British elite. Could such an agreement guarantee complete security for the employer for many years to come? In the next chapter, you will learn what personal items concealed the most terrible secrets. We will examine in detail how ordinary items of clothing became irrefutable evidence of guilt. In the era before modern technology, physical objects remained the main repository of secrets. Ordinary furniture, hiding places in walls, and personal boxes concealed the answers to many questions. Maids encountered these items daily while thoroughly cleaning spacious rooms. It was their hands that tidied up the places where the owners hid their greatest fears. Gradually, the servants learned to accurately determine where the family's most important secrets were kept. The Lord's study was a veritable minefield for any careless or curious employee. The locked drawers of the massive desk always attracted the special attention of the service staff. Sometimes in a hurry, the owner would leave the key in the lock, providing the servant with a rare opportunity. One glance at the stack of unpaid bills gave a complete picture of financial ruin. Such papers were much more eloquent than any rumors or kitchen talk downstairs. Fireplaces in bedrooms regularly served as a place to destroy dangerous or compromising correspondence. However, not all letters burned to ashes, leaving small but very informative fragments. The maid who raked the ashes in the mornings often found half-burnt notes with tender addresses. It was impossible to restore the full text, but even a couple of words revealed the identity of the secret sender. The ashes in the fireplace were a kind of chronicle of the personal lives of the owners of the old mansion. The personal wardrobe was also a huge library of facts for an attentive valet. Stains on luxurious fabrics could reveal the places the gentleman secretly visited. Dirt from the outskirts of the city on expensive shoes revealed the roots of night walks far from high society. A torn edge of a frock coat testified to participation in a street brawl or a hasty escape. Clothes never lied, revealing all the secrets of their high-ranking owner to the experienced eye of a servant. Ladies' boudoir kept their own, no less dangerous and destructive material evidence. Boxes with double bottoms were used to store miniature portraits of the ladies' secret admirers. Maids were well aware of the design of these boxes, dusting them daily. Empty bottles of strong sedatives spoke of their mistresses' deep nervous breakdowns. Private chambers were full of silent witnesses to human dramas unfolding behind beautiful facades. The bed linen required special attention and concealed many unexpected discoveries. While washing, the laundresses noticed any unusual stains or damage to the delicate fabrics. Expensive silk sheets bore traces of spilled wine from secret nighttime celebrations. The disappearance of a set of linens from the guest bedroom pointed directly to unwanted incognito visits. Every detail was carefully discussed in the laundry room, adding to the servants' collective knowledge. The estate's libraries concealed secrets not only in the contents of rare folios and books. Small hiding places for storing confidential papers were often arranged behind rows of antique volumes. Carriages and coaches stored in the stables were also subject to thorough inspection after trips. Cleaning the interior after long journeys often yielded unexpected and very valuable finds. A forgotten glove or ladies' fan on the seat became the subject of lengthy discussions among the grooms. Train tickets to unexpected destinations revealed the secret itineraries of members of aristocratic families. The carriage was a mobile extension of the home, preserving traces of all its owner's external contacts. All these items, from a tiny button to a massive safe, formed a dense network of clues. Servants were the best detectives of their time, able to read history from traces on the carpet. Possessing this information made their lives dangerous, but incredibly interesting and eventful. They lived surrounded by secrets, touching the darkest sides of human nature every day. Things spoke to them much more candidly than their haughty and secretive masters.
He'll be up there till Christmas, I reckon.
Information in Victorian London spread at an astonishing speed without any modern means of communication. An extensive network of informal communication between workers from different houses played a huge role in this process. Servants from neighboring mansions often met at markets, parks, or local pubs. These brief encounters served as the perfect channel for exchanging the latest news and juicy details. One carelessly uttered phrase instantly became the talk of the entire street, and then the whole neighborhood. The service entrances of wealthy houses were real centers of attraction for delivery men. Messengers delivering coal, ice, or fresh pastries visited dozens of aristocratic mansions every day. While waiting for payment, they exchanged a few words with the cooks or footmen at the back porch. In this way, the delivery men gathered a mosaic of rumors, carrying information from one house to another. They acted as informal reporters in a huge and noisy city. Clubs for high-ranking servants, such as butlers and valets, were particularly popular. These establishments had an atmosphere of exclusivity, imitating the clubs of their noble gentlemen. Over a glass of good ale, they discussed the political ambitions of their masters and their serious financial failures. The exchange of secrets in this environment was subject to strict rules and resembled diplomatic negotiations. Information here was not simply retold, but analyzed and evaluated by experienced connoisseurs of the human soul. The female staff had their own platforms for exchanging important social news. During walks in the park, maids discussed the latest outfits of their ladies and their secret admirers. These conversations were conducted in whispers so as not to attract the attention of casual passersby or policemen. The girls shared ways to deal with their mistress's anger or tricks for running a household. In such conversations, secrets were passed on under the guise of innocent complaints about the hard life of servants. The threat of publicity through the network of servants was so great that it affected the real estate market. Lords tried not to buy houses in areas where servants had close ties with neighbors. The choice of a mansion often depended on the ability to isolate one's staff from unwanted communication. High fences around country estates served as a barrier not only to thieves, but also to gossip. Architectural isolation was the physical embodiment of the desire to hide one's life from prying eyes. Sometimes rumors were started by the employers themselves to achieve certain political or social goals. The butler might be hinted at an upcoming engagement, knowing that the news would spread throughout the city by evening. Employees who were known for their ability to keep their mouths shut were valued like gold. Recommendations about them were passed around in a small circle of the elite, offering the most favorable working conditions. Such professionals could serve one family for generations, becoming practically members of the noble family. Their silence was not a sign of fear, but a manifestation of the highest professionalism and dedication to their work. In a world of widespread gossip, reliability was the scarcest and most expensive commodity. The London rumor mill worked flawlessly, acting as a social regulator in a strict society. Fear of gossip among the servants forced the aristocrats to behave more cautiously and prudently. This unspoken observation restrained many vices, preventing them from bursting out in a destructive flood. Without realizing it, servants shaped the moral character of an entire great historical era. Their whispers in dark corridors were louder than the official speeches in the British Empire's parliament. Despite the constant tension, relations between masters and servants were not always hostile. The shared concealment of secrets sometimes led to the formation of strange but very strong alliances. An aristocrat and his valet could become a real team working for a common goal. Shared secrets erased social boundaries, forcing people to see each other as simply human beings. In critical situations, the loyalty of an employee saved the reputation of their master from complete and inevitable ruin. Ladies often found in their personal servants not only helpers, but but also wise advisors. A maid with life experience could save a young mistress from making a fatal mistake. Away from the strict gaze of husbands and fathers, women could openly discuss their personal problems. The maid took the risk of organizing secret meetings, acting out of sincere sympathy. Such relationships were based on deep mutual sympathy and trust that went beyond the usual terms of the contract. Male solidarity also played a huge role in concealing typical gentlemanly vices. The butler could cover the young heir's card debts to the strict head of the family. This was done not for profit, but out of a desire to protect the young man from his parents' severe anger. In such cases, the servant took a huge risk of being fired for aiding and abetting deception. True loyalty was always measured by a willingness to risk one's own position for the sake of saving one's employer. Servants often helped their masters fight addictions, hiding them from the rest of society. A valet could secretly dispose of empty bottles, maintaining the illusion of the lord's absolute sobriety. He would also bring the gentleman to his senses before important receptions with the help of strong coffee. This invisible struggle to save face required tremendous patience and tact from the employee. The servant became a healer and guardian, saving a person from their own inner demons. In times of deep financial crisis, loyal employees sometimes offered help to their employers themselves. There are known cases when housekeepers gave their life savings to pay the lord's urgent bills. They did this to save the estate, which had become their real home. Such sacrifice went beyond any contract and touched the aristocrats to the depths of their souls. The nobility of the actions of ordinary people often surpassed the manners of the most distinguished representatives of the elite. Allies among the servants were indispensable in conducting complex investigations within the family. If the lord suspected his wife of infidelity, it was the footman who helped gather irrefutable evidence. The younger generation of aristocrats treated them with marked respect and reverence. These elderly people were living archives, preserving the history of the victories and defeats of their ancient families. Their status was unshakable, and their silence guaranteed peace for the entire noble family. Thus, knowing other people's secrets did not always lead to blackmail or the destruction of lives. In the hands of decent people, this information became the basis for deep and sincere friendship. Victorian society, despite its strictness, left room for true human nobility. Servants and their masters often saved each other in the most hopeless and confusing situations. These invisible alliances were the strongest foundation of the majestic British estates. Despite all precautions, sometimes secrets still became public knowledge. Disaster could strike because of a resentful footman or a maid's diary found by accident. At such moments, the facades of perfect lives collapsed with a deafening crash before the eyes of the whole city. Newspapers instantly picked up on the scandalous story, printing the details on their front pages. The life of a noble family turned into a living hell, full of humiliation and public condemnation. The first consequence of exposure was always social boycott by the London elite. Disgraced lords and ladies stopped receiving invitations to balls and social gatherings. Their old friends turned away when they met on the street, pretending they had never known them. The doors of prestigious clubs were closed to gentlemen whose reputations had been tarnished by scandal. Isolation was the most terrible punishment for people who were used to always being the center of attention. The financial consequences of the leak were no less devastating than the loss of status. Creditors, learning of the family's problems from rumors, immediately demanded repayment of all debts. Bills of exchange were presented for payment simultaneously, leaving no chance of saving the property. Family estates were put up for public auction at bargain prices, falling into the hands of successful merchants. The once powerful family was stripped of all its assets and plunged into complete poverty. The disclosure of secret affairs led to high-profile divorce proceedings in court. In those days, divorce was extremely rare and was accompanied by incredible publicity in the press. Former servants were called as witnesses, publicly revealing intimate details of their employers' lives. Court hearings turned into theatrical performances for a gossip-hungry public. A woman's reputation after such a trial was destroyed forever, with no chance of recovery. For the servants themselves, the consequences of participating in a public scandal were also extremely sad. An employee who testified against his former employer lost the trust of society forever. No respectable household would hire someone prone to betrayal. Even if the witness spoke the truth, their actions were considered a gross violation of professional ethics. Such people were forced to leave the country or seek the lowest-paying jobs. Sometimes the disclosure of secrets led to the complete expulsion of aristocrats from their homeland. Families who could not bear the shame gathered what little money they had left and secretly left for the continent. They settled in quiet towns in Italy or France, hiding their true titles. Life in voluntary exile was filled with bitterness and memories of former greatness. It was a tragic end for people whose secrets proved heavier than their social status. In an attempt to avoid scandal, many preferred to pay blackmailers for many years. This was nerve-wracking and depleted their budgets, turning their lives into a constant wait for disaster. The fear of exposure poisoned every day, depriving people of peace and normal sleep. As a result, some lords published confessions themselves just to end this endless torture. It was better to endure a brief period of shame than to be forever enslaved by their own secrets. What made the situation particularly tragic was that often completely innocent people suffered. The relatives of the disgraced lord were also ostracized by high society. Upright ladies could not marry off their daughters because of the tarnished reputation of the entire family. The shadow of someone else's misdeed fell on several generations ahead, closing the doors to a bright future. The cruelty of Victorian morality showed no mercy even to the most distant members of an ancient family. Their power was invisible, but a very real threat to every noble gentleman. Secrets that could destroy a family became the main weapon in the invisible class war. And in this war, the winner was the one who could keep silent longer than everyone else. The Victorian era has left us with many lessons about the fragility of human reputation. What topics related to the secrets of the past do you think we should cover in the future? Please suggest topics for future videos that you would like to see in the comments. Your ideas help us find the most intriguing historical mysteries for new research. Be sure to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on the next exciting investigations.